Hi everybody, welcome to Geeks After College with our segment First Impressions. I'm your host Neil Butler, and this is our very own Stephen Ingram. And our special guest tonight is Mike Bohannon, whom you might remember from the Total Recall review. So anyways, we just got out of this little film. It's very small, independent, up-and-coming director. You might have heard of it. It's called The Hobbit.
My dear Frodo, you asked me once if I had told you everything there was to know about my adventures. Well, I can honestly say I have told you the truth. I may not have told you all of it.
Bilbo Baggins. I'm looking for someone to share in an adventure.
I can't just go running off into the blue. I am a Baggins of Bag End.
Bilbo, allow me to introduce Fili, Kili, Oin, Loin, Darlin, Balin, Biffer, Boffer, Bomber, Nori, Ori, and the leader of our company, Thorin Oakenshield.
Far over the misty mountains cold, to dungeons deep and caverns old, the pines were roaring on the height, the winds were moaning in the night, the fire was red, it flaming spread, the trees like torches blazed with light.
I cannot guarantee his safety,
Understood.
nor will I be responsible for his fate.
The Hobbit, A Walk Too Far, is the first in a planned trilogy, which will be followed by The Hobbit at a brisk pace, followed by The Hobbit, A Cooling Period. The Hobbit, An Unexpected Journey is the long-awaited sequel to the Aragon series. The Hobbit, An Unexpected Journey is the live-action reboot of the Shrek franchise. The Hobbit, An Unexpected Journey is Die Hard with trolls. The Hobbit, An Unexpected Journey is the worst ripoff of The Lord of the Rings I've ever seen. On this special episode of Geeks After College First Impressions, we did a social experiment. We brought a black guy to see The Hobbit. Your thoughts?
They took a walk!
So, Steven, what did you think of The Hobbit?
For serious?
For serious.
For serious, okay. So for realsies, okay, I came into this not really knowing much about the trilogy. I'd seen it on like a TBS weekend marathon, but I was like doing homework the whole weekend. So, and you combine that with, well, in all honesty, like I'm a geek in a number of ways, but Middle Earth isn't really one of them. Like, I can't. If you ask me to name 5 people's names in this movie, I could not tell you.
Your brain just shuts down.
Yeah.
And then we have to make like a Marvel Comics reference, and then you just come right back.
Okay, so Captain America wears the ring and turns invisible, and no.
I think Tumblr's pants just exploded.
I thought it was pretty good. I mean, it's what, like a 2-hour, 45-minute?
It's
movie?
2.5. It's basically 2.5 hours.
2.5. Okay.
Yeah.
I thought, I thought it was kind of long, but like really the only like legit complaint I have is like with scenes that I felt like were really only in there to just kind of foreshadow what might happen in a sequel or something. Like they talk about the Necromancer, which is like Benedict Cumberbatch's character. Right?
No, Benedict Cumberbatch's character is Smaug the Dragon.
Oh, serious?
Yeah.
I could have sworn on IMDb he's listed as the Necromancer.
I think he does the body of it.
Oh, okay.
And what's weird is you say that, and then I automatically think of Family Guy, where it's okay, it's a prequel or it's a foreshadowing. It just lasted way too long.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's if you're gonna judge The Hobbit: An Unexpected Journey as a standalone movie, then it does seem a bit needless in the context of the story that particular movie is telling.
Yeah.
But other than that, the only other problems I would have just make me sound like a jock, like giving noogies to, paladin nerds. Like I don't know. Like again, it's hard for me to really get into this world, but I do feel like the cinematography, the look of it, it really is enthralling. It's a very beautiful film. Yeah, I just felt like maybe they gave a little too much attention to the whole Necromancer foreshadowing. Other than that, though, I thought the characters were all very, you felt for them. Bilbo's journey, seem to work. At first it's like, okay, well, he's on this journey. It seems kind of just happenstance that he just goes with them in the beginning, because it's like, oh, they left it behind, and he's kind of just all alone in this house. Okay, his life is kind of boring. But, like, by the end of it, you kind of know why he's there, and you do feel for him, and I really respect that. I do like the acting in this movie. It's a lot funnier than I expected it to be.
Which is funny, which is interesting that you mention, which is something that I'll go into later about the critical reception of the film, but The Hobbit is a children's book.
Yeah, it's very lighthearted, and
It
you really
is.
get that feeling.
It is, and a lot of people were expecting it to be more dark, like Lord of the Rings, and it's like, why would you ever? The Hobbit is a children's book, and that really comes through.
I didn't know that coming into this, because I know.
Well, you didn't know any
about this. Yeah, I know nothing
well,
about
one
the
of the
series.
one of the reasons why we brought Mike on was that Steven hasn't seen any of the trilogies, hasn't seen the trilogy that much of the trilogy, but he's aware of it.
Yeah.
Mike, on the other hand,
I know absolutely nothing about the trilogy. The extent of my knowledge of the trilogy is they pick the ring up in the first movie and they start walking. Second movie, they continued walking and there were some talking trees. Third movie, they put the ring in the fire and they went home.
Here's a disclaimer. At the beginning of the movie, Mike asked me which one of them is Frodo. So that'll tell you everything you need to know about Mike's knowledge of the series. So it's interesting to have someone who doesn't know anything about the series watch The Hobbit, just straight cold turkey. If he asks me a question about Lord of the Rings and I know the answer, that should tell you something.
If he had sat next to me, I could have answered some questions, but then again,
I don't really like to ask a lot of questions during the movie.
Yeah.
It's more
I'm totally
16,000 questions.
And I'm totally okay with that though, because I hate when I'm watching movies with people and they're like, "Who's that? Why are they doing that? What's going on? Where are they?" It's like, why don't you just shut the up and watch the movie? They'll answer your question in literally half a minute. If you just pay attention. So the fact that you don't really want to ask questions, I'm totally down with that.
Why did they kill that guy? I thought he was with them. Why did they kill him? Oh, he wasn't really with them. It's a good thing they killed him.
That's a Jerry Seinfeld bit that I love.
I'm gonna go back to texting my boyfriend.
But I did not know it was a children's book. Like, so you would say the Lord of the Rings books are a bit more for like young adults, and the Hobbit.
They are. They're much more adult oriented. The Hobbit was written by J.R.R. Tolkien in the 1930s, and it was just a children's book. It's like it's very.
That's
nice.
a really thick children's book.
No, it's not. It's like yay thick. It's really not. It's not very big.
The copies I've seen are a lot bigger than that. So I guess they like.
That's because they're the Peter Jackson extended cuts of the books with 12 hours of bonus features.
Mike, I think we need to determine just how thick, your definition of thickness of books and our definition of thickness of books.
Okay.
Neil's definition. I don't read.
This is a thick book.
Okay.
What I thought The Hobbit was like that.
It's a little thinner than that.
It's thinner than it's thicker than I would have read.
So is
ever.
it thicker or thinner than like the Harry Potter novels?
It's thinner than the Harry Potter novels.
The Harry Potter
novels.
novels.
Wow, I was way off.
Well, the Harry Potter novels got pretty hella thick.
Yeah, The Hobbit is only like 300-something pages, which is pretty standard for a book.
Okay, that's not too bad.
I didn't think that was.
It's probably just like the type of paper that they use, because they use really nice paper for the Lord of the Rings Hobbit stuff. But anyways, your thoughts, Mike? I'm very curious.
It was actually a really nice standalone movie. Coming into it as a movie all on its own, it's really nice. The scenes are really well done. Mm-hmm. The filming is nice. I like the acting. There were no real complaints other than, there was the whole cut scene with
Radagast the Brown.
Yeah, Radagast.
The Brown Wizard.
The Brown.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
That one was kind of unnecessary. I do like the foreshadowing of it, but it just seemed like it dragged.
Well, he's also describing what I described.
Yeah, it just dragged on a lot.
This is a common criticism you're going to hear in this review.
Then, other than that, I mean, there was a lot of walking, but it was nicely spread out with a really nice score. The music for a lot of their scenes was really spot on, which I do enjoy in movies like this.
I bought this.
I have
with his shameless plug.
It's mine.
I okay this.
Okay.
I have one thing to add.
I licked the CD.
But other than that, it's a really nice movie. The storyline is easy to follow. Mm-hmm. The ending, it answers some questions. It's a nice. I'm not gonna say anything else, but it's.
Oh,
a
dude,
nice
we spoil
ending.
everything.
We can spoil it.
This is for people who have seen it already.
Yeah.
Okay, it's a nice cliffhanger for the next one.
Oh, that closing shot is killer.
I loved it. And it really made me happy because the entire time in the beginning, I was like, are they going to show the dragon? I've seen a tail and a foot. Can I see the dragon? I want to know what the dragon looks like.
Yeah, they did a good job.
But they did a really nice job with the fire and the smoke and the terror of just knowing he's there.
Well, they're doing the same thing that they did with Smeagol Gollum in the original Lord of the Rings trilogy, where they kept him an absolute secret until the second film, The Two Towers, came out, and then you saw him. But they seem to be keeping that one going, and even though this was the Fellowship and Two Towers came out 10, 11 years ago, respectively. This is this is the future with the internet where nothing is a secret. You just type some keys into Google, you'll find it. They've done a damn good job, keeping him hidden. So I have to give them major props for that.
Well, isn't the title of the next one The Desolation of Smaug?
Yep.
Smaug.
I thought it was just small.
I was expecting that iconic Godzilla sound effect when they zoomed in on
I feel like we just had an Arrested Development moment where everyone impersonates chickens and we just impersonated Godzilla. I'm expecting Mike and I'm expecting Mike in the back and be like, have you guys ever heard Godzilla?
At all?
Have any of you heard Godzilla before?
I know it goes high and then it's like...
Not even. At all.
It does. It's like... It's like the echo of it. It's like the sonic
sound
boom.
that can't be replicated by human voice.
Okay, I had a question. What was the point of the Rock'em Sock'em Storm Giant scene, other than just being an obstacle in their way? It seemed really.
I really don't know. It's one of those the atmosphere is cool, it's beautifully shot. It's really well done. But in the grand scheme of things, I really couldn't tell you. I'm sure it's one of those things that I didn't know.
I remember looking at that scene going why is this here? Is somebody gonna die? Nobody dies, but it doesn't really seem like anybody grows as a character after it.
Well, you also have 2 more movies, and I will say this: people will die.
Okay.
No, that's fine.
I do want to give a nice kudos to their art direction.
Oh, their art direction is incredible.
Set dressing, matte painters, the lighting for some of their extended shots, the terrain that you either can't find in one place together like that, or it's just you need to add some stuff to it. They did a really nice job of blending your real life, something that we added with the computer, and that far off shot that we just painted in the background.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, their
gorgeous.
special effects team is ace, top notch. Weta Workshops, Weta Limited in New Zealand. I think they managed to overtake ILM, Industrial Light and Magic, as the best guys in the business.
That is gorgeous.
And they just came out of nowhere with The Lord of the Rings.
And what makes it so bad is you can easily take over ILM because
ILM, Disney now owns ILM, so
true. But when you're doing Star Wars, it's a space themed movie. It's supposed to be otherworldly. You can make it look like whatever you want.
Yeah.
This is Lord of the Rings. You're still supposed to be on Earth, just in a different time frame.
Yeah, it's really cool because it wasn't just orcs and grogs and but
insert syllables here.
It was any other word that has 3 vowels consecutive.
Yeah.
But they were basically giant dogs or giant hawks, and
those
they make them look really good.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Which is a lot more difficult than just making up an animal.
Oh
of
yeah.
Some kind.
I agree. I agree.
Far to the east, over ranges and rivers, lies a single solitary peak. The dwarves are determined to reclaim their homeland.
I like visitors as much as the next Hobbit. But I do like to know them before they come visiting.
Mr. Baggins?
At your service. I'm surrounded by dwarves. What are they doing here?
Oh, they're quite a merry gathering.
So, this is the Hobbit.
You asked me to find the 14th member of this company, and I have chosen Mr. Baggins.
Me? No.
Hobbits can pass unseen by most if they choose, which gives us a distinct advantage.
We will seize this chance to take back Erebor!
Here, Mr. Bilbo! Where are you off to?
I'm going on an adventure!
Okay, so needless to say, I am the one who probably knows the most out of this group.
Well,
but
we'll have that argument another time. I fancy myself kind of an expert here.
I was lying when I asked who Frodo was.
It was
No, you weren't.
Bilbo was the
He
main
wears
character.
a size
right?
12 shoe and he's 4'10". I know who Frodo is.
All right. Do not question our knowledge of Dilbert Baggins, okay?
But The Lord of the Rings came at a very special time in my life, and has always been there. So, The Lord of the Rings is my favorite movie. So, when The Hobbit finally came out, The Hobbit, I've been waiting for like 10 years, even more, to see this. And it didn't disappoint. Like, I'm glad to see it. It's one of the pitfalls of the book that I was always kind of worried about was the book is very episodic. It really is. It's just like, oh, one task begets another. Like, oh, we finished that one. What's next? Oh, another thing to do. And while that works, it's a good children's novel, but it doesn't exactly make for the best of films. It's just episodic. It's like, oh, well, okay, just keep going. Nothing really has that much consequence. Things just happen, and there's no real overarching thing. And that was something that I was really, really worried about with the movie, as well as the fact that there are 13 damn dwarves. When in the book, you only get to know like 2, 3 at most, if I remember correctly. You only get to know like 2 or 3 of them. And it's like, why do you have 13 dwarves if you don't even really know any of them? They're just kind of there.
I'm sorry, but I only know 7 dwarves, and none of them are from Middle Earth.
One of them went to med school.
But the fact that they started characterizing these dwarves, giving them character development, just early on was great. It was a good thing to do. A lot of people complain about the first 45 minutes of the film before Bilbo goes on the journey, and they say it's too long and it's too boring and not a whole lot happens. And while I'm not really going to disagree with you, it is what I would call a necessary evil, because in the book, Bilbo just goes on the journey because here's how it goes down. I don't wanna. There's treasure. Okay, sure. Which doesn't exactly make for compelling film. So in the first 45 minutes, not only are they doing their best to establish the dwarves, characterize them as best they can, and as well as, showing their camaraderie and showing that these are people rather than just names on paper. And they did a smashing job of that. It's wonderful. But as well as giving Bilbo a little bit more of a reason to go on the journey rather than just treasure, fine. It's not terribly believable, and they did a good job of that. But it's something that it's a necessary evil. Could they have cut down on some of it? Yeah, more than likely. But,
I want to interrupt you right there.
Go ahead.
The beginning was actually really nice to me.
Yeah.
Because it gives you a chance. It establishes all your characters, like you said. But it also gives you a feel for Bilbo's personality.
Yes.
Like, you meet him as a person, like, at the beginning. He doesn't do this. His life consists of boringness. He lives in his home. He stays in his community. Mm-hmm. He sits on his front porch smoking his pipe.
Yeah.
That's what he does. And these people come in, and all of a sudden they're eating all his food.
Oh, yeah.
They're messing up his house. They're moving things around. They're showing no respect whatsoever. But that's who they are. So you get to know them as a group. You show
the cultural differences between the two.
Exactly.
And it's good.
Really nice the way they did it. And then the song that they sing that night before they ditch him, that was beautiful.
Yes.
That was great.
It's one from the trailer, right?
Yeah, that's from the trailer. Well, it's also from the book, too. And the thing is, in the Lord of the Rings trilogy, they did away with most of the song singing. But if you read the books, there's songs all over the place. And I know that there are a lot of people who were irked by that, but it's like, it kind of they didn't have time for it, they were kind of kept going with the story.
Well, if you're going to be like a, kind of an adult story about war and like bloody battles and stuff, then like kind of singing Mary Poppins.
Yeah, it doesn't...
We're going to go off the battle, do-do-do-do-do.
It doesn't necessarily fit. Thank you, Al Jolson. But it doesn't fit. Whereas in the Hobbit, it fits a lot more. And not only that, they actually had the time to be able to do it.
Yeah.
And it doesn't feel out of place. It's a really wonderful scene, when they sing the Song of the Misty Mountains, and it's wonderful. That's not to say that the film is without its faults. It has some. To me, the film doesn't necessarily pick up until they reach the orc lair towards the 3/4 mark, towards the third act. And that's not necessarily a pox on the previous 2 acts. They're still good, but it was still like, all right, this is fun. It's a little languid, though. I wish we would get going a little faster. And then finally it really hits off, and the sequence with Gollum, the Riddles in the Dark sequence, is probably the best scene in the film. And that's not saying anything really bad against the film. It is just amazing.
How many of those did you guys know?
I got all but the wind.
I knew time.
Yeah, I didn't get wind and time.
I was paying attention to other things like, damn, Gollum looks real. But I feel like we're getting the extended version of The Hobbit in theaters for firsthand, whereas I just wanted the theatrical cut. So while it's all good and all, there are a number of things that I probably would have cut.
Yeah, same here.
However, I can't say too much because this is part of a planned trilogy, and they are probably, for most of these, I bet they're planting the seeds for something that's going to grow and bloom in later on in the series. So if they do that, then those will have been worth it. Will it have kind of been a tax on the film? Kind of, sort of, yeah. But it'll at least have been worth it. They'll have built up to it rather than just, oh, this is here, okay. So I'm not really going to be able to say anything too much until we reach the end of the trilogy. However, if by the end of the trilogy none of that comes to fruition, I will murder someone. To anyone who's been paying attention, the Hobbit: An Unexpected Journey did pretty well, I guess, with the tomato meter. It has like a 65% on the tomato meter right now, with an average rating of 6.4 out of 10. And it was interesting to read the reviews because most of them were panning things that really didn't need to be panned. Like, a lot of them trashed the 48 frames per second high frame rate 3D, which was something revolutionary that Peter Jackson did specifically for this film in order to fix a lot of the problems that people had with 3D just in general. So they panned that. They panned a lot of things that are it's too long and a lot of things that don't need to be there. And the interesting thing is, going back and reading these reviews, they're panning a lot of things that they got onto with the Fellowship of the Ring, the first in the Lord of the Rings trilogy, 11 years ago. But they didn't get onto it they didn't get onto the film for any of those things. I guess they just figured, because the film is, so new and revolutionary, we can't really say anything, we're not going to tax it. But on this one, it was just like, nope, blah, 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 blah.
It's not new anymore.
It's not new anymore. And a lot of them were upset with the film because it was more childish and humorous and lighthearted than The Lord of the Rings. But that's the Hobbit.
Yeah, that's the whole point.
People were upset with that it wasn't The Lord of the Rings. But I don't want it to be The Lord of the Rings. I want it to be The Hobbit, and it's The Hobbit. That's all I wanted.
Love the fact, it wasn't a gory film.
No.
Lord of the Rings, their battle scenes, they were battle scenes.
Yeah.
And then that's just from the trailers and brief moments that I caught on TV.
Yeah.
But they were battle scenes.
Yeah.
With this one, there's a whole 10-minute, almost 10 minutes segment where they're running through the
orcs. Right?
Yeah.
Were those orcs or were those?
Yeah, the orc settlement.
I thought those were goblins.
They're orcs. Orcs and goblins are the same thing, pretty much.
Okay. So they're running through that whole settlement, just bashing guys as they go through.
And they're also they decapitated a few.
Yeah, decapitate them.
But they're all bloodless
bloodless.
bloodless.
It's all comical and fast-paced.
Yeah.
No one stops to have
true.
a battle. We're constantly running, but we're gonna slice and dice as we go through, and
it's
it makes
really
it
enjoyable.
a lot of.
It
makes it really
comical.
nice, lighthearted.
Yeah.
Because you got one scene where the really fat dwarf, he just says screw it, and he just belly flops and takes down one of the levels.
Yeah.
And flips them all over.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So it's really, I like the way they did that.
Yeah.
It wasn't.
It is. No, it
was an epic that you would expect from Lord of the Rings.
It was an epic battle scene that's family friendly and fun.
Yeah.
They found a nice healthy middle ground.
Decapitations for kids.
But they're evil, so it's fine.
They're fine. Don't worry.
You can eat what you want.
Although I will say the conclusion to that was the greatest thing ever. When the whole level just collapses.
Oh, it's great. It's fun.
I looked at Steven and I said, just write it. Write it out. Just write it.
Exactly. But yeah, just reading a lot of the reviews, it was just sort of like, did we see the same movie? Because a lot of them are like, it's too comical. None of the dwarves die. They keep getting through all of these incidents without dying. It's like, well, I think you need to take that up with J.R.R. Tolkien, who is unfortunately dead. It has been dead for quite a while. So I think a lot of it just comes down to The Hobbit: An Unexpected Journey was made more for the fans.
It sounds like these people didn't read the books, right?
They didn't read the books, And even then, it's like, it's still pretty sound. Like it's, a lot of it just seemed like nitpicking from professional critics. And it kind of sucked to finally realize that, you know?
Like, I don't know, like, I've never read the books, and I don't really have a complaint with nobody dying.
Yeah.
But, I mean, then again, I guess it's also partly because I'm anticipating 2 more movies, which
Yeah,
I probably
exactly.
shouldn't be doing. It's a
No.
weird, I don't know, like...
See, I kind of wanted somebody to do that, because like you brought up earlier with the whole battle scene with the mountains.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The mountains fighting each other. When this, you're hanging on for dear life onto this mountain, and it shoves you into the side of another one.
Yeah.
No one was even hurt.
Well,
Like, I can understand you want to keep your characters alive. They're not, it's part of a, it's just the first part of the book. They're not supposed to die yet.
Yeah.
But no one was even hurt.
Well,
Like, I've seen no serious injuries. Like, I can understand, okay, keep them alive, but, give them a limp. Make them limp for, 15 minutes or something. Give them something.
I'm trying to think.
To show damage.
So I think that scene just kind of led to them falling into the orc lair, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. It was something.
so then maybe they could have just cut it down a bit.
Yeah, they
maybe?
could have.
Yeah.
And I think, this brings me to sort of my closing thoughts, because we're going to start wrapping this up, is that I noticed that there was a new editor for this film. It wasn't Jamie Selkirk like the guy for the previous Lord of the Rings films. They got a new guy. And I don't know if this really has anything to do with it, with like a lot of the cuts. I think a lot of it just comes down to Peter Jackson trying to give the fans more of what they want. And he gave the fans what they wanted, and that's good. But it's kind of good to strike a middle ground. And I think that a lot of the film is just kind of a necessary evil of just trying to establish everything so that we don't have to keep doing it for the next 2 films. So I expect the 2 films to be a lot more brisk and, just getting on with their deal. So that's what I'm expecting. So it's a necessary evil. And I'm looking forward to what they have to do, because they've laid the groundwork. Now, they've made their bed, now they have to sleep in it. So, let's keep on going. So I guess one of my questions is just, if the Lord of the Rings trilogy had not come out first, how would The Hobbit have been received by critics? And I think it would have been received better. I think it's just a matter of it's not new anymore. So I guess that's really all I have to say about that. Closing thoughts, I thought it was really enjoyable. Not as good as The Lord of the Rings, but then again, I don't want to compare the 2 because they're so totally different. It's like, this apple is better than this brownie. You're going to go in circles. So I would give it, right now, I'd give it an 8 out of 10. It's probably going to go either way. I'm going to sit on it. But right now I give it an 8 out of 10. It's good. It's totally worth seeing. I will probably see it again, and I look forward to seeing it again. I want to give it another shot. Steven, what would you give the film?
I'd say maybe a 7.5 out of 10.
Okay, and would you recommend The Hobbit: An Unexpected Journey?
I would definitely recommend it to anybody who's read the books. To people who haven't read the books, it depends on the person.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And Mike, you?
I honestly, I'd give it a 6.5 out of 7, just because it's not my typical film.
Out of 7, I like the new scale.
Yeah, that's
6.5.
break the rules. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, 6.5 to 7.
Okay, cool.
Okay.
That's fine.
If you've read the book, it seems to be really nice. A lot of people have an issue when movies come out about books because there's no attachment.
Right. Yeah.
This one seems to have been attached really well. Like, I imagine, looking at the movie, I imagine there were a few things I'd have caught on more had I read the books.
Well, not even
it'd have been a little, just a smaller thing, small details.
Well, not even then. Just if you had seen the previous trilogy.
Because when he first opened the chest and there was the sword.
Yeah.
I figured I'd have knew something about that.
Yeah, you would have.
Instead of him reaching past it, I was just kind of like, okay, there's a sword.
See, that's the difference with that scene. With Mike, it's just like, oh, whatever, that stuff. With me, it's like, oh, it's all these things I remember.
This is me during every Marvel movie.
Yeah.
Come on.
So now we're at an understanding.
Yeah. But if you haven't seen the movie, if you haven't seen any of the other ones, you haven't read the books, it's a solid film. Mm-hmm. If you're into the whole fantasy world, you'd like it. If you're more, I want more car chases and explosions, no, this is not your movie. Right. Except there is a really cool scene with pine cone bombs that I like. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Pine cone bombs are cool.
So we at Geeks After College would definitely recommend The Hobbit: An Unexpected Journey.
I will take each and every one of these dwarves over the mightiest army. Loyalty, honor, a willing heart. I can ask no more than that.
Home is now behind you. The world is ahead.
So I think that wraps it up for this episode. Join us next time where we review something. We're not sure yet what it is, but it'll be something Oscar contender-y. Yeah, you get it. Probably Django Unchained, or
the D is silent.
probably Django Unchained or Les Mis, or maybe we'll just do something totally unexpected.
Jack Reacher.
Maybe. Who
Maybe.
knows?
Who knows?
So from all of us here at Geeks After College, put on pants today.